Welcome, Internet. It is D&D night here on the Wily Hobbit Twitch channel. I'm Scott, also known as Wily Hobbit, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our game Mysteries in the Dalelands. We're hanging out in Faerun. We're headed east from Dagger Falls toward the Dragon Spine Mountains. But before we get too far into that, just like to welcome everybody, and we'll go around the room here and get some introductions. We'll go ladies first tonight. So, Calavera, if you would just tell us a little bit about your character, who you're playing.
Uh, Hi, I am Paige. I am playing Calavera tonight. She is a Fire Ganassi grave cleric who's, it turns out, is very new to this whole cleric religion praying thing, and she really does not know much, but is having a good time.
Learning under fire, as they say. Very good. All right, thanks, Paige. We'll just go right down to Rue. Tell us a little bit about your character.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrew, also known as Fellowship of the Tables. I'm playing Rue Shahar tonight, who is a human, question mark, rogue, for a penchant, with a penchant for getting out of dangerous situations.
Could be helpful.
Pastry.
If it works out.
Yes.
Fragili will be joining us a little bit late this evening, so we'll have a shuffling of cameras and stuff when Mike drops in. But so Fragili will be here in a little while. Algernon, tell us a little bit about your character.
I'm Manny. I play Algernon Atano, a divination wizard, or a newly discovered divination wizard, who's out on a kind of study abroad program without much structure and guidance.
Or study. Yeah. Very nice.
Not a lot of reading going on.
And then finally, Gears, upper left corner. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Hay Wilson, also known as Dave, affectionately. Gears. I play Gears. He is a dual-wielding fighter, warforged, and they are trying to figure their way out in this new realm that they find themselves in.
Nice, very good. And as you can see, we've got a little bit of artwork scrolling through the center box there, and that's the character artwork, so you'll see the names kind of line up. And if you notice, if you've been a watcher of the stream, you'll see that they used to be, in this case, like Ronvin Artificer 1 used to be, and now she's Artificer 2, and Rue is Rogue 2. So everybody has leveled up since the last episode, so that's pretty exciting. And Ronvin will not be joining us this evening, so we'll catch her again next week. So, last week we had a situation. We started off kind of resolving a bit of a cliffhanger. Rue had found himself apparently surrounded, almost ambushed in the forest near a cave. There was a few sheep staked out front. That seemed kind of odd. With him were Calavera and Gears, and they were kind of surrounded. And it turns out they were indeed surrounded by two half-ogres. Who had kind of made a lair out of this cave in the woods. And so battle ensued, and the three of them, it was a little nip and tuck, a little touch and go, but the remainder of the party never split the party. The remainder of the party that was still down on the road, kind of keeping track of the mule and so forth, heard the commotion and made their way up to the battle scene, and the group did prevail. And is no worse for the wear, apparently. So, and in the process of going through all that, they've secured 3 sheep, some treasure, some items, some things that were in the cave, along with some gross, flesh and bone, leftover meal things, a fire ring, stuff from the half-ogres. And then they made a grisly discovery of a humanoid form that was hanging skinned in a tree not far from the mouth of the cave, the little cavern where the half-ogres were layering. Missing some flesh, missing all of its skin, and it looks, slender enough and slight enough in build, and it had pointed ears, or at least one pointed ear. So their sense is that maybe they found an elf who maybe met an unfortunate end at the hands of these two Ogrillans, or half ogres. And so we will pick up our game at that point. It's actually the next morning. They all decided to long rest and sleep the night through. It was uneventful. And it is bright and early on the morning of 22 Flame Rule. It's the start of the 4th day on your journey, heading east to the Dragonspine Mountains to track down a thief of all things, a book thief, whose partner in crime has already been sentenced and killed for his crimes. And you're tracking down Spurnick. And so let's go ahead and hand it over to the party. Good morning.
All right, so it's morning. Al's going to begin with kind of looking through his spell book, and while he's sitting around what's left of the fire, kind of flipping through his spell book, and he excitedly notices that suddenly there are 2 new spells that weren't in there on the previous day. And he's pretty excited. They reappeared in his father's handwriting, like they used to be when he was still in Schultz. But now he's gotten 2 spells that had just kind of magically appeared in his book. And between that and the spell book that we found previously the night before, he's kind of giddy with books and a lot of arcane knowledge suddenly in front of him. So he's just going to be eagerly flipping through books.
So those spells just appeared?
It is the first time it has happened since I left home. This is my father's spell book, and it was full. And he kind of holds it up and shows you like just the massive amount of pages that were in it. It was once full, and when I left, I had but a few, and suddenly in the night, two more have appeared in my father's hand. And he just kind of briefly shows like a little flicker with a kind of spell effect that in the 4 days you haven't seen yet, that kind of shows like a new kind of facet of his power.
Do you think it was always there and just, or you can see it now? That's weird, right? Like spell books don't usually do that.
Yes, I expected everything to be in there, whether I understood it, and so I feel as if it maybe has a curse that only those who can wield the contents of it can see it.
Huh. That's interesting. Never heard of anything like that.
I have never seen it. And then he holds up the other spell book and flips through the pages like really quickly. See, all of these are full, and they are still here. And then for the most part, the spell book that we found is basically full. It's not like a lot of blank pages or anything. It's a couple of small pages and just the spells and the kind of slowly working at it over a process to make them work. So it's a bunch of scribbles. It looks like it's in Elvish, but written in a kind of universal kind of hand that any wizard would recognize.
All right.
And so Al's just thrilled that he's like I said, he's got 2 books in his lap, and is just devouring anything he can, especially out of the newest one, the one they acquired.
You're gonna be reading that while we're walking today, aren't you?
It depends on the day. If I have some time, perhaps. Some of these I know, some of these I do not. but until I can copy them into my own spell book, they are simply a beginning point on my way to new knowledge. And do you see him kind of look like he's working things out with like new spells, stuff he's not completely familiar with, and is entertained, but also a little frustrated that maybe despite all these new things, he's not learning as fast as he feels like he wants to.
So Gears and Fragile are preparing the burial site for this hapless skinned elf that through the morning. And we'll be building a proper cairn over it so that animals don't come by and defile the corpse. And I'm sure that Fragile will be saying some blessing over it, and perhaps Calavera will have some involvement in the seeing our departed hangabout, if you will, onto their next life now that they've passed on, have them properly put to rest.
Okay.
I will help with kind of the more practical aspects of it, like digging, anything like that, and just kind of stand respectfully there as you're doing the more religious aspects of it.
I see Gears doing a lot of digging and finding big stones to put on the cairn.
Seems reasonable.
I think with all this, Calavera is actually taking a lot of a backseat to this, because I feel like Fragile would definitely be like really into getting this all set up and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Calavera is watching a lot of this, and she's kind of back into the sign. She's very quiet, and her eyes just kind of keep falling over to the body. Like it's clear that she's a little lost in thought watching this. Just kind of contemplating a lot of it. Yeah. I think a lot of eventually I think she does end up speaking up when you guys, you talked about building something over top of it to keep animals away, right?
Yep.
She actually goes, well, this is being built, and she goes, what exactly is that part of it? What are you doing there?
This is to prevent animals from consuming the body.
Would that be a bad thing?
Most cultures prefer their dead to be interred intact and left that way. It makes no difference to me.
But at this point, it is meat. They just prefer for it to stay there and decay on its own and not continue the cycle. I don't understand. She's just kind of looking at everyone to like see if they can, give some input to this.
I think some of your kind see death as a change of life, and they regard the body as sacrosanct.
I mean, honestly, I think. I'm sorry.
Nope, I'm done.
Honestly, I think people just feel weird about thinking about a body of someone that was actually alive, then getting eaten up by wild animals. Like that's kind of creepy, right?
Alan looks up briefly, just to chime in real quick. Barely even looks up, just kind of chimes in. In my country, we burn the bodies. There's too much out there, plus weather and floods. We dispose of the bodies respectfully, but with fire.
I
and
suppose.
then he goes right back to reading.
I suppose I haven't spent much time thinking of how other people are thinking of these. And she like gestures like to kind of encompass the whole idea of what's happening.
Gestures broadly.
Yeah. Hmm. But it is just a meat. The essence of the person is already moved on. This is another possession that has been left behind.
I suppose death is one of those things that not everybody's super logical about.
Some say that death is just the beginning.
And Calavera, she does laugh at this kind of quietly. I suppose that is a way to think of that. Probably not incorrect.
In some respect, for my kind, death is just hearts. I'm not sure there is a beyond for us. Your kind cannot be repurposed.
Does that bother you?
Life, as you have it, is fragile. The created are more durable. Parts are parts. You get the very strong impression that Years doesn't care one way or the other. This is being done to satisfy Fragili's sense of decorum, presumably around their patron.
And if any of you were paying attention, you would have noticed that Fragile spent some time alone with the corpse in prayer and apparent meditation, maybe in preparation for providing an appropriate burial. You're not maybe sure exactly what.
So, do we have the? We haven't. It hasn't been buried yet, right? Or it's still like you guys are in the process of digging and getting it ready.
Yep. Work in progress.
Okay. Al's going to kind of go over and look at the body, just to see. He's over the spells; those can wait. But just the kind of mystery of what may have happened to the body, if there's anything that he would notice, like magical burns, anything like that, like CSI Dalelands.
Okay. Give me a medicine check.
That's not going to be too bad. 19.
Okay. So it looks like this body has been stripped of its skin. You know, like I mentioned before, that one of the ears is missing, the feet are gone. There appear to be areas where some flesh has been stripped off the bone. It's a pretty grisly sight. It appears that the meat, the body was hanging in a tree, so it's fairly dried. It's not a fresh kill. That's kind of what you can glean.
Do you have any idea how long it was in the tree? Like days, weeks?
Your guess might be a week or so ish. 7-8 days. Definitely a pretty rancid smell.
So I was just going to kind of look the body over. I guess doesn't come up with anything too specific, and then just kind of mumbles a little something in Chilton, and just kind of goes back to his book. Yeah, this is probably the worst thing he's ever seen in his life.
Yeah, and it looks like it's been a mechanical effects on this body, right? Like rending of flesh versus anything paranormal or magical, supernatural. It's been stripped.
Yeah, I don't know knives.
Taking a look around this cave again,
Mm-hmm.
are there signs of like domestication here? Like, are there simple tools or like chairs or things that would suggest that the half ogres were more than just beasts? Because we heard one of them call the other by name.
Right. There was, hey, Skaga, thanks for the bits, man. That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for stopping by. Sleep well. Yeah, you did hear what sounded like they referred to each other by name in some guttural language. You see inside the cave, there's a fire ring with some stones kind of crudely arranged. There's a couple of logs in there. Looks like maybe for sitting. And then it's, bones and bits of flesh and, decayed, dried meat of various, just detritus kind of around. Certainly not good housekeepers, So, domesticated is a pretty strong word.
So Al's going to kind of, at this point, I guess, help dig. We should probably be getting going. We don't know anything about what is here, what's happened to this elf, and we still have business to attend to. He shoves both spell books in the little satchel that he has, and kind of helps everybody, the digging and everything, so we can get this kind of done respectfully and move on.
Okay. You don't have any trouble wrapping up your burial of the body, filling it in, and Fragili does say a few prayers, probably in a language you don't understand. Ronvin seems to be kind of dialed into what's being done as she stands and listens, and Fragili sings pretty mournful song, and as she progresses through the song, her verse changes to common, and the last section of the song goes kind of ends with this verse here. And the mother knows not that she knows not of her past, but the servant sees the past and what should have been the now, beseeching the fog of sorrow and lament to be torn asunder, that the daughter may rise to lead the people to a world beyond the perpetualness of war created by the father and his wife, to an ending that skirts the battle between light and dark, to be night and day as was planned, one with the spark of creation, one with mote of night. And she kind of fades away and everything just gets very quiet, not even the sound of birds or squirrels. And she kind of steps back, kind of, almost as if to invite anyone else that would like to say anything or pray over the burial site.
At that point, Gears will simply walk away to where the Ogrelon are, hack off their heads, put them on spikes or stakes further down, and leave them there as warnings to any who come.
Okay. Nice.
Think.
Go ahead.
I think as the song fades away, Rue is also going to walk away,
Okay.
and he's going to go off. He's going to go off and do his customary sitting for a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Fragile just sets about gathering her gear, preparing for the day's journey like she would normally do. It's a beautiful morning. Little hazy, humid. It's going to be a warm day. You can tell. Again, we're 22 flame rule, 7th month of the year, so you're at the height of summer, a week away from midsummer. In fact, it's going to be a warm one. The air.
I think once like sorry, go on.
Oh, good. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say probably once most people have kind of, moved away and aren't as like crowding the area as much, Calavera's gonna, walk over to the grave, and she'll just kind of like kneel down, not like just like she's just sitting there next to someone. She just kind of takes a moment, and then she just like quietly and conversationally, it is not as bad a journey as they are all making it seem. And you're probably already mostly on your way, but a little something to help along. And she'll go into her provisions, and she'll just lay out like a little bit of like food like along the side of the grave there,
Mm-hmm.
in case you get a little hungry along the way. This should help.
Nice.
And she'll just kind of sit there for another moment and like kind of take a deep breath. And then as she lets out, it's like she's kind of like settling into place for a moment. Like, I don't know, like sitting here next to this body isn't uncomfortable. Almost companionable, but not quite. And then she'll get up and make sure, and go about like making sure all of her stuff is gathered together.
Okay. Very good. So you've garnered some treasure, some items. Clover is there with you, your mule. There are 3 sheep that are staked out and around the entrance to the cave. Any thoughts on what you'd like to do with them?
Yep, we're going to round them up and take them with us.
Alive?
Of course. They might as well walk themselves.
Al has no objections.
I mean, what will happen if we leave them alone here?
Well, we should let them go then. They are currently immobile.
I was going to suggest we butcher them and take the meat with us.
And carry that with us? We could also walk them along with us and then butcher them when we are closer, so that way we are not carrying meat the whole way.
That's fine with me.
And what you said, they're all staked down, like right near the cave.
Yeah,
entrance?
in various areas, not right beside the cave entrance, but kind of out in front of the cave entrance, where there's little openings in the trees and just a little bit of grass is growing there. It's just a simple, maybe 15, 20-foot rope tied to a stake pounded in the ground. Just very simple.
Despite still being terrified of them, Al's going to round up all the, I guess, whatever they're tied with, pull it up from the stakes and kind of make his way back to the road and tie them to whatever Clover has on him that's we're using as a pack animal. So so nobody's actually holding the ropes. I'm gonna tie the 3 sheep to Clover. Kind of hitch all our wagons together.
That can be done. Yeah, no problem.
And then he's gonna get the hell away from them because they're still terrifying.
Yeah, you've probably not seen sheep up close before. And I would imagine
They
Ronvin
haven't done anything.
would probably come and help you with that a little bit, being from the Dalelands and being familiar with farm animals and farming. I think she would probably have no qualms about helping you secure the sheep with clover.
My familiar Delphi is doing his best as a cat to help me herd sheep,
Nice.
but he's not. That's not what a familiar's for.
It's not really working real well, yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
no.
good flavor
Yeah,
text,
yeah,
though. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So by now it's mid morning. You're probably all anxious to be on your way at this point. You spent a fair amount of time here, and you still, as someone mentioned, you still have business to attend to in the name of one Spurnick that you are trying to locate. So you have no trouble making your way down to the road, the trail, more of a trail than a roadway, really. And you continue eastward, and you're now definitely closer to the foothills of the Dragon Spine Mountains. You can definitely see the peaks, the craggy, jagged peaks in the distance. They're kind of north and east of you as you make your way. And it's a pretty uneventful, not too thrilling journey. It's by the time you reach midday and beyond, it is hot. It's the sun's beating down. You're out of the trees. There's really not a lot of a way to cover yourself as far as natural cover is concerned, and it's a hot day.
We're walking along. I am following next gears, and I just say to them, "You're not much of a talker, but you've been watching this group a lot, haven't you?" Evaluating, trying to figure out what their deal is.
Reds.
Have you come to any conclusions?
They're all very fragile.
Compared to you, yes.
It is the only basis of comparison I have.
That's fair. Is that the only thing you've observed?
So far, it remains to be seen. I have my reasons.
You trust us all?
Perhaps. Do you?
I want to. It seems like a good bunch.
We share common purpose.
You talking about Sparnick?
Indeed.
What about after we catch this guy? We'll
We'll
wander
see.
off in our separate directions.
Perhaps. Common purpose sometimes leads to longer bonds. We shall see. We are growing, learning, sharing. It is not something I am used to. of you, you appear to be a merchant, and yet more than a merchant. You're certainly more capable than appearances would allow.
I can take care of myself.
So
But at the same time, it's always good to surround yourself with good people if you can figure out who that is.
need ready distractions. And they unconsciously rub the rents in their frame where the axes recently gave lie to their lie. It seems an oddly reflexive thing for an entity that perhaps may not have attributed reflexive actions like that. You get the sense as you're walking along that they're actually more conscious of the damage. Not just the 2 axe hits, but the rest of it that covers their body. That it seems something that bothers them, but they can't do anything about it. They also spend a certain amount of time avoiding Rodvin, who seems to have found some rhinestones and glue somewhere. To give a little color to our Discord chats.
So as you,
So you're
you-
just walking down the street like the inside of the Terminator, just a metal shell, no nothing else, no Kate, no just.
No, it's less Terminator. So I mean, the Terminator appearance is sort of like framework. You know, if they were fully stripped of flesh, this is that framework, perhaps. Who knows? With skin, for lack of anything better to call it, but close observation has shown that it's odd skin, if you will. It's textured, whereas most living creatures' skin is not so textured. There is a definite evenness to the pattern, except where there's been fairly serious damage done. It's strange. It's they're not flesh, but they're not mindless. They're not a statue. They clearly demonstrate a range of emotions, abilities, and capabilities, but the appearance is definitely not something anyone is used to. When Fragile put her hand on his chest and almost demanded a story about the whole thing, they noticed first that it's their flesh, their skin is not what you're used to. And it's perhaps puzzling to anyone who puts their mind to it. I don't think Rodvin has, to be honest. She's just too excited about having a mechanic around. But yeah, they are the way they are. They're traveling now with the glaive is stone, Wiley.
Yep.
And the light crossbow is out.
Okay.
Looking for threats, possibly game.
Yeah.
Maybe if anyone wants to have a shooting competition, I don't think that would go well.
It's just a hot day. It's very still today. The air is not moving much. It's a bit humid. Probably the most humid day you've experienced on the road in your short journey here, the 4 days, with the exception of the foggy day. And it's just quiet, which maybe after last evening is a nice change of pace as you work your way along. You reach supper. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, it is very much a nice change of pace. So one of the things that we're keeping an eye out for are the clues and cues from the books that might give us an idea of where our quarry has gotten to.
Right. You know that probably tomorrow is when you're going to come upon the trail that leads you due north up into the foothills to the location where the circle of standing stone should be. You know you're getting close. It'll probably be sometime tomorrow.
Cool. Good. I just want to make sure we're not losing sight of that.
And you're also the road is turning just a little bit, or maybe the river's turning. You're not sure. It's hard to tell, right? But the track you're on and the river Tesh are becoming ever so more gradually further apart from one another. It's kind of wandering away southeast, and you're maybe wandering away northeast. But instead of a wide swath of tall grass separating you from the river like it was in Dagger Falls, it's probably a good mile away from you now, to your south. And it's coming on to early evening time, maybe dinner time, depending on when you all like to eat. And it's been a quiet day today.
Skiers have a sense of how close they are to the Black Network, the Zentarum, and their capital, because I know that it's up this way as well.
Yeah, it's well beyond where you're currently heading. Let me have a quick look here.
It's further north and east.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're not even gonna get halfway between Dagger Falls and Zentelkeep. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna turn north here pretty soon, and head into the foothills of the Dragon Spines. And Zentelkeep is actually at the mouth of the Tesh River in the Moonsea.
Good. I want to stay far away from that place.
Yeah, so it's early evening. Your stomachs are all telling you, at least those of you who like to eat, are all telling you it might be a good time to stop and eat. Anybody who care to make perception roll?
I'll make one.
By all means, maybe you're looking for a place to consider bunking for the night, just to see what you see.
Yours is clearly lost in thought at a 7.
7? Okay.
Hi.
15, trying to pay attention, probably reading a book.
Yeah.
Got a 9.
9. Okay.
Awesome.
My total is a 6.
6. Yeah. So as
reading the book's got the best one.
As Al's reading his book, he kind of glances down and is like, "Oh, look, cat tracks. Some kind of cat tracks. And they're big, so probably, cougar, mountain lion type animal. You see them along the road. That's about the only thing you've really seen all day long. It's been pretty quiet.
Are the tracks fresh?
You could make a nature. Anybody who's got that sort of thing, now that you can point them out. Anybody who's got that as maybe a proficient skill.
Survival.
Dirty 20 in nature check.
Yeah. They look, the soil that they're in looks like it has been wet and dry at least once since these tracks were made. Like they're deep enough that they were impressed into some, it was soft when the animal came through, and the ground is long dry. So you would say, it's probably been a few days. If you recall, I think it was your second day out, you had a pretty rainy day. That might be your guess. A couple days ago. That's
I was going
really
to point out the cat tracks to his unobservant uh, cohorts, and mention that it might be around, it might not be. He somehow, despite being an indoor wizard, knows a little something about the outside.
he read in a book. Yeah. Subscribes to National Geographic magazine. Yeah, other than that, it's been a fairly quiet day. A lot of grasslands. The further east you come, the hillier, a little bit more hard scrabble. You see, rocky outcroppings here and there. Fewer and fewer deciduous trees, greenleaf trees, and more evergreen type trees, junipers, cedars, pines, and so forth, evergreens.
And the mountains that we're going towards are like in a size now that it seems pretty clear that they're relatively close. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, much closer than when you started out, obviously. Yeah. You know from looking at your map that you're not going to go into the deep mountains proper. You're more going to be in the western foothills. But it looks to be on the map like probably going to be fairly rugged country.
Perhaps we should uh, pull off the road and stay for the night. I hear no wild animals. I hope to find no half people in trees. We should be prepared and rest if the mountains are close. We don't know what this Spurnick might be doing.
Are you worried that he might see us up there and I don't know, try to trap us or something? Like Calavera looks over and she's pulled a couple of the needles off of one of the nearby trees and she's like twirling them between her fingers, just kind of like she's fascinated by these.
I we He knows this land more than we do. We should be fully rested and prepared when we get close to anywhere where he may be. We are about to lose the safety of the road and head into the mountains. And then he points at Clover. With all this stuff we may need, we should be rested. And he points to all the stuff that Clover's carrying just in case.
It probably makes sense, yes. Can we find any? Is there any good place that we could pull off any like clearings or something that could provide any kind of like protection or anything?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Again, you're in fairly hilly country, so it wouldn't be too hard to find a little bit of high ground. There are, again, various copses of trees, small clumps of trees, no real big woodlots or forests. You can see in the foothills of the mountains, it's a little green where you might expect the forest is really kind of taking over, but here you're still a little further away than that. On the south side of the road, again, it's pretty much grassland with a few boulders and rocks here and there. So you really kind of have your choice.
I guess.
I'm
I
good
mean,
with.
one spot's as good as another. And I guess Al's just going to kind of find one of these like areas that look, far enough away from the road that if anybody travels by, they won't be able to see us, but not so deep into the woods and the brush that we, lose track of the road.
Sure.
It's going to set up a little fire, prestidigitation, and boom, there's a little campfire burning.
Nice. Yeah, you can get a couple hundred yards off the road and feel pretty well that nothing that may come up or down the track will see you. You've gone over a couple of hills, so you've got some high ground between you, and you've found some high ground. So you're not really a beacon for anyone to see. Not a problem.
Right, yeah, let's. I guess we settle in. Find a place to tack down all the animals. Because we do have the sheep with us still.
tied to a donkey.
Donkey, so they need grazing space, water.
Yep. And again, you're in that. You've got both grassland and hill country, so there won't be any trouble um, for them to find suitable greens to munch upon. You have a beautiful sunset unfolding to the west, and it's illuminating the mountain faces that are to the east, and they're this beautiful ruddy red color, almost if anyone's ever seen or heard stories of red dragons, a lot of that, it looks like the rock is some various shades of red, and then along the top of the mountains, like a ridge, you see darker charcoals and grays, almost again like the spine of a great ancient dragon. And that ridge of mountains runs to the northeast as far as you can see. Go ahead.
Al's just going to sit down with his two spell books and just kind of just be in his own little reading world.
Yeah.
Gears will be helping with the setup of the campsite, but at a certain point we'll break away, find a bit of high ground, and watch the sunset and the remarkable likeness of this mountain chain of being, looking like a dragon, thinking a bit of home.
Yeah, it's really quite beautiful. And as the shadows grow longer, as the sun sinks in the west, the evening bugs and crickets and peepers come to life and awaken and sing their song of peace and comfort to you as it gets dark. Sparks from the fire swirling up. The humidity seems to have lessened. The earth itself is radiating, because you're in such a rocky area now. The earth itself is kind of radiating heat from baking in the sun all day. But it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful evening to be out on the road around a fire.
Unless there's anything else, I imagine Frigili will do their nightly ablutions as well, but we'll set watch and rest.
I think at some point before we set up for watches, Gallivere is actually going to settle down next to Algernon with all of his books, and watched for a second, then goes, Algernon, could you point out for me real quick where it is on this book that it says the person's name again? I couldn't remember it from earlier. And she gestures towards the Elvish book.
It's on what, the inside cover or something?
The name is on the front cover.
Okay. So when she comes over, he's kind of quick to close the found spell book, keep a little distance between himself and Calavera, and just kind of show her the cover of the book, just so she can see it. I cannot read the Elvish, but this is what it says on the outside, and just holds it up for
her. She nods, and then she's staring at it, and then looks frustrated because she also can't read that. And she goes, would it be okay if you set it down for a moment so I can copy this down? Just the name. I don't need to know anything else in the book.
Just be careful. The contents on the inside could be dangerous to somebody who does not understand it. And then he's just going to kind of very reluctantly put the book, I guess, somewhere between himself and Calavera, but have this kind of presence of an overprotective parent.
She nods, and then she reaches into her own bag digs around for a bit, like sorting through things, and then she actually pulls out a pretty thick leather bound book of her own that the the outside of it looks like it's in pretty decent condition, and you can actually see on the very front of it that the leather is embossed with a design that looks like a pretty gorgeous decorative skull kind of design on it. And then she goes and she sets in her lap, and as she opens it and starts, like flipping just bunches of pages, like moving towards the back, you can't really see much of what's in there, but you can see that the first good bit of it, whatever pages were in there, look kind of destroyed and in really bad condition. But she like moves past these pretty quickly and gets to the end, and then we start hitting a lot of blank pages. And then when she hits close to the end, she goes in her bag. She pulls out a writing utensil, and she just pretty carefully on a fresh blank page copies this name down the best that she can. I'm not sure how well she can do this since she doesn't know Elvish script, but she does her absolute best.
I did put the common version of the name in the chat, Elitus Quartermain, but it's obviously written in Elvish. Algernon was able to determine that when he first found the book by casting Comprehend Languages. So. Pretty cool.
Yep. And then once the ink and everything's dried, she blows on it to make sure that it's fully dried off. She goes ahead, she shuts her big leather book up, and then it goes back into her bag, and she says, "Thank you. I thought it would be important that I don't know. I get the feeling that's important that we remember their name. Just
Anybody
for
who
their sake.
studied and acquired power is worthy of remembering through their knowledge. And then Al's going to pick it up and kind of take kind of a little overprotective possession of the found spellbook once again.
She gives him this kind of searching look, like she's thinking those words over. She goes, is it for the sake of them, or is it for the sake of their knowledge that they should be remembered?"
Anything they contribute to the process of gaining knowledge is how they will be remembered.
And what happens if they are not, but the knowledge continues? Do we know everyone who has made every breakthrough?
No, and that is the wonders of the arcane. People contribute, but they're not remembered. The progress and the knowledge is what remains.
She'll nod. I think that you can work on remembering the knowledge. I want to remember the person for a bit longer. Whoever they were. It's a
Very
terrible
well.
thing to be forgotten.
Very well. They died horribly and deserve better now that they are at rest.
I think she'll just kind of nod along to this and go off with her own stuff and leave him to the books.
Okay, you're well into twilight now. The sun has turned into nothing but a pink glow in the western sky. The stars are coming to life. It's a beautiful evening. You can, if you look up, you can see the silhouette of bats in the pine trees as they are off to do during bug season as they feed.
I don't know if I have anything else for the night. Do you guys?
Yeah, I was just gonna be just mesmerized by the books.
Yeah, Rue is kind of lost in thought a little bit.
What's I'm just curious. What is everybody's passive perception?
Uh,
Here's
15.
12.
13?
Gears, what did you say yours was?
13.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just a beautiful night. The sheep quietly graze. They seem to be much less agitated, much calmer since the demise of the Dalelands, the half ogres. If you recall, they were quite distraught. So it seems you've made some new friends.
Hey.
I'll still leery of them.
Till we meet geese.
Oh no.
Cobra chicken.
Right. Well, Gears is going to assume that we're following the same pattern that we have for watches, so they're expecting morning watch. They're just going to sit down, cross-legged, glaive across their lap, crossbow nearby, and stop moving entirely.
Okay. Yes, you have no issues getting your watches set in pairs per usual, and it's a quiet night. Thankfully, after last night, after all the rain the other day, after the giant spiders on the first night, a quiet night is welcome. Fragile even finds herself more in thought than in speech. Everyone is quiet indeed. And cycle by cycle, every few hours, you wake your next partners, and the night passes quietly, uneventfully. You get this really excellent effect in the morning as you look up through the trees, expecting to see the sunrise, but realizing that you're close enough now to the mountains that you won't see the sun until it climbs higher in the sky. But you have this beautiful pink backdrop behind the jagged peaks of the dragon spines. You hear the birds come to life just as the twilight begins. And it's another beautiful morning. The air mass with the humidity has moved off, and today is crisp and clear. It's going to be hot, but it's not going to be as oppressive a day as you had yesterday. And the morning is upon you.
So,
Al just is going to go back to his spell books. Whatever kind of little faint magical effects he had the day before seem to maybe have gotten a little more intense. Like he's actually kind of learning little bits or playing with the new spells that appeared in his spell book. Mostly just been kind of practicing the two new things that he hadn't seen since he left Chult.
Okay. I assume everyone is just going through their normal morning routine, ablutions, and so forth.
Yep, I think this morning, Galavera's she's gonna try that whole praying thing again. She tried the other day, a new hot fad.
Okay.
And this time, when she sits down, she goes back into her bag and she pulls that book back out again, and she flips through all the pages to find the one where she wrote the name down on. And she just kind of looks down at it. I think the focus of this, she like reaches out to this deity, and she wants to know how this person's journey was, if how they've moved on. And since she doesn't know the name out loud, this is like the closest that she can get to like identifying them, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what she's gonna try there.
Okay. So you're trying to just get a sense for whether or not they're on their journey headed for peace. Did I understand that correctly?
Mm-hmm. Or whatever it is.
Okay.
I don't think she has a very good idea of it.
Right. No, I understand.
But definitely the sense that there's probably something more.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah, so do you have any particular ritual in mind or anything that you do to actually pray or anything that you say?
I don't think she has anything set yet. A lot of what she's been doing has kind of been gut feelings. I think she's really she's sitting there, trying to reach out and commune however she can, and she doesn't really notice that she's done this, but she has reached down. She's just kind of gently like laying a hand on the medallion that's been serving as her holy symbol this whole time. Just a little extra bit of connection there, like totally unconsciously.
Okay. Roll percentile for me.
Okay. That's a 47.
Okay. Yeah, so you manage to quiet yourself and really focus in on what you imagine to be maybe the way this person ended, and focus in on what you hope to be their journey. You don't feel like you've gotten any response per se, not that you're even sure what you'd be looking for in the form of any form of response, but I think your takeaway from this time focused and quiet is that you feel like praying helps you clear your mind and give you a sense of peace. You're not really sure why, but it feels like, oh, I think this is a good idea to do this. You're not getting anything tangible or concrete. You're not getting messages or burning bushes or anything. But you feel like it's time well spent, and it gives you a sense of centering and focus.
Okay.
What Gears or Rue? Al, I know you're reading books. What are Gears and Rue up to as far as starting the day?
Gears is watching Calavera go through these morning rituals with a certain odd interest. In the meantime, they are also engaged in their own rituals of cleaning weapons. Particularly, there's still a lot of gore on their glaive. They're cleaning that, trying to put a decent edge on it. Not really succeeding because it's not that great of a weapon. But they're just, working it without actually having to pay a lot of attention because it's just reflexive. Running a whetstone over it, trying to get the blade up to snuff, cleaning the bits of caked on flesh and blood that's left over from the last battle that they never really took a chance to clean things up after that. And once they think they've reached a sort of a level of, I've done enough of this, stop doing this, they just keep watching Calavera pray and contemplate and sort of unconsciously run a hand over the deep scars that are there, but that have been healed in no small part due to the unaccustomed divine magics that they found themselves around, and wonder.
I think that Rue would also, if he sees Calavera praying, he would kind of try to watch, but at a respectful distance. Like he's curious, but he doesn't want to be rude about it. So he's kind of keeping an eye on it. But then I think at some point also he goes off toward the east where the sun would be rising, and kind of like stares off in that direction a little bit, and eats a cupcake.
A cupcake. How nice. I'd like to take this moment to welcome Fragili and thank
What have I missed?
him for foobarring all the camera boxes. Yeah, man, good to see you, Mike. Actually, nothing of any exciting nature with regard to like combat or anything, but some really nice role playing going on here. And the DM hasn't been talking much, so that's been a refreshing change of pace as well. So welcome, glad to have you, bud. You're on day 4 of your road trip. It is 22 flame rule. It is the evening. Actually, it is now 23 flame rule, and it's the morning of day 5. We just finished a long rest. A rather uneventful day on the road. They all enjoyed your
with us.
We got the sheep.
The sheep are with you, yeah. And they all enjoyed your verse. I read the verse that you shared with me at the burial of the corpse. And they all seemed appropriately moved by that. So, yes, it is the morning of 20...
Miss Calavera's philosophical curiosity about burial.
Oh, I'll have to rewatch
You
it
did miss out.
later.
You will.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch it this week.
You know that today is the day that you will turn north. You will find a trail that's marked on the map. That is... you're going to have to pay attention to the north side of the track that you're on and look for a couple of absolutely black, dark, small boulders that are set into the ground, marking a trail that heads to the north that is supposed to lead you to this circle of stones in hopes of locating Spurnick. So are you ready to set off on your 5th day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
Very well. Okay. So you make your way back down to the track and begin to head east. Again, you're a good mile and a half north of the river now. The track you're on has gotten further away from the river the further east you go. When you go through the morning, and I'm going to have everybody roll perception for me. I presume everybody's kind of keeping a close eye out for this marker.
It's better.
19 for gears.
18.
17.
12.
How'd you do there, Calavera?
I got a 12.
Okay. Yeah. Still maybe
Yay.
contemplating your piece a little bit left over from this morning. Yeah.
I just don't see good.
I heard a 19 in there somewhere. Was that the highest one?
Gears.
Yeah, so gears, as you're walking along, it's past lunch. I'm guessing most of the time you're eating lunch in hand while walking. no muss, no fuss. But Gears, you do notice, lo and behold, on the left side of the road, two large, and they're just, maybe 6-8 inches above grade. The top dome of the rock, very smooth, weathered black rocks that are probably about 15 feet apart.
Okay. Well, Gears will call a stop and indicate where they are. We'll start moving up the way. How far along are we? Around noonish?
Yeah, it's midday. You've probably just had your midday meal / snack, whatever form that takes. Again, you've gone up in elevation. It's rockier. It's hillier. There's not as much grass up in here. Obviously, it's grassier down toward the river. You're gonna follow this track.
Yep. We'll make the turn. We're in Albuquerque.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, so you head almost due north, up into the hills. It's rocky and craggy, definitely hardpan at this point. Almost entirely either aspen or evergreen. Now you've gone up an elevation. The sun is bright. It's warm, but compared to Dagger Falls a few days ago, the air seems maybe just a little thinner, a little cooler as you've come up an elevation. And you find yourself on what's nothing more than probably a game trail through brush and brambles and trees. There isn't a lot to it. But it winds its way between hillocks up into the hills, into the foothills of the Dragon's Spine Mountains. And they are tall and steep to your east. You would guess you may be 15 miles from being in the mountains proper. You're close now. A lot of loose rock. You have to kind of be careful. Your footing. Clover the mule does a masterful job. The sheep not always so much. They're used to spongy grassland. But you make your way up there. I wouldn't say it's difficult terrain. It's just not as easy walking as the track had been. And you work your way up there. And it's dinner time. It's been a hard afternoon of kind of uphill generally now this last hour or so. A couple times you catch yourself, some of the loose rock sliding away into your feet, catching yourself. It's just a little tricky up here. And you're getting on towards dinner time. And you're just wondering, where the heck are we going to find this
passage?
place? Yeah. Roll perception.
10.
Nat 20.
Oh, jeez.
Nat 20.
I know, what a waste. What could you use on
Take it.
something cool?
Nice.
So it's 22 total.
So Algernon, you can see that there has been, and it's hard to tell because you're in it's dry, it's rocky, but you can tell in places where the ground the dirt is looser or there's loose gravelly. You can tell, like, before the party gets there, that there have been some kind of impressions. It's nothing that would leave a clear print because it's not pure dusty dirt. It's rocky, but you can tell something has been up this way. Hard telling what or how many.
Al's going to point to the tracks and point these out to the rest of the party that just that something else has been coming or has come this way in whatever period of time.
Mm-hmm. And as you all get up there and look around, you look to the west and the sun slowly, the higher you go, the lower it goes, and you're almost to the twilight of the night. And you begin to wonder, should we think about making camp or at least eating? Because it's got to be 8 p.m., maybe 8:30. Shadows are long.
the terrain is getting rougher, I take it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll
So
go up and plateau
walking.
and up over a hill and down. You know, it's foothills of mountains type country, and it's pretty rugged at this point.
So we would stand a fairly decent chance potentially of breaking something if we started bumbling around in the dark at night.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're experienced mountaineers, it could be treacherous. You know, or at least with torches. You know, something. But you come through a couple of areas that are somewhat wooded, and you can see off to your east, to your right, where a forest begins to pick up and march up the lower slopes of the Dragon Spine Mountains, dark evergreens, and you come out of a thicker lot of trees into a kind of a clearing almost, and it's a little bit level, and off to your right you have the mountains looming. And there are these boulders that seem to have been dropped. You know, they must have broken off and tumbled down. But in front of you, you see, in the dim light, just a little bit of that rosy pink, you know, the last rays of the day from the west, illuminating about a 60-foot wide circle, roughly speaking, of what look to be fairly large stones. There's kind of two, you know, here and two on the sides and two toward the back. And there's this boulevard that's been created, or walkway, kind of stone, dirt, and there are boulders that have been kind of lined up to pull you in toward this circle. And you're probably about 30 feet before the start of that little boulevard there. There's about 6 of those boulders that kind of line the path that leads you right to that circle.
Al went through the books at the Lord's house, and the passage that talked about the standing stones, was there an illustration, or was it just like a written description of what the circle of standing stones?
Yeah, roll me an intelligence at advantage, please.
20 with modifier, or just straight up roll?
Use your intelligence modifier, yeah.
21.
It was described in the book, and you think back to that passage that you took such care in memorizing because you knew you'd need to somehow recognize this, and you are confident beyond any measure of doubt that you have arrived at the location you've been seeking for the past 5 days. This would be the circle of standing stones, and beyond those stones, maybe 15 to 20 feet out, there are random boulders and things around them. The stone on the east is actually like it's been knocked down, and they form about a 60-foot diameter circle. And as I said, you're about 30 feet or so on the track before the path that leads into the circle begins.
Al's going to kind of point to the stones. These are the ones that were in the book. I am almost positive, and where they talk about the cult and the dragons. This is what the book had for us. And he's going to kind of run off and start like touching stones and really just kind of seeing what it's about.
Okay. So you're just going to kind of follow the trail into the circle?
Yeah. And if like the one we encountered on the road a couple of days ago, they had like something etched or engraved on like one side. If the situation's the same, I would like to be on the side of wherever the etchings are. If they're facing outward, then it'd be in the outside of the circle. If they're on the inside of the circle, then the inside of the circle.
Okay. Roll perception
I'll
as
go
you...
along with Al.
Okay, so Rue and Al are going to go. Both you guys roll perception as you're going to... The applied karma says, just run through, you'll be okay. Love it.
Yeah. 16
Okay.
for perception.
21.
Okay. You notice as you're entering how there's this kind of this boulevard arranged with some boulders. There's three on each side as you progress through, and you look down, and it's kind of dusty ground, grit, dirt, very dry. And you look down, and you see dozens of footprints in this dusty soil that all lead right to the center of the circle. And you enter into the circle, and again you get to the very end of this little boulevard, and then you have these standing stones, and they're about 20 feet high. They're big. They're bigger than the stones you saw in that little, for lack of a better term, rest area. You see perched upon a couple of them large, appear to be either ravens or crows. You hear them croak and flutter off, big heavy wing beats as you spook them as you enter the circle. It's getting quite dark now, but you did see some sort of an opening in the center of the circle. There's dirt kind of mounded around it. Looks like about a maybe 10 by 10, 15 by 15 opening. There's a boulder just beyond the opening. Couple of smaller boulders inside the circle, but you're definitely inside of a circle of standing stones. No doubt about it. It's there. It's been arranged. The one on the east has fallen over and is actually cracked and partially broken.
As we passed by the standing stones, did we see any markings on them?
It's fairly dim. Are you walking over to the stones, or are you just going to walk right into the center? How do you enter the circle?
I would be sticking with Al.
Okay.
With my bow out.
Oh God, I don't like where this is going. So there's it looked like a path, or at least a beaten path towards.
Yeah, there's foot tracks that go right to that opening in the center.
The circle. That seems dangerous. I'm gonna spend more time looking at the stones themselves.
Okay.
Seeing if there's kind of what they're made of, if there's anything inherently magical about their arrangement, if it's kind of an old arcane pattern, or I'm going to focus on the actual physical stone.
Okay, so there's one on your left and one on your right. Do you have a favored, one on kind of the southwest of the, kind of think about if the center where that excavated opening is where the clock hands are, and the far stone across from you is the 12. There's one about 8, and there's one about 4, and then there's 3 and 6, and about 10 and 2. If you picture it that way, and it's a 60-foot clock face or 60-foot circle.
I'm gonna go to the one at 8 o'clock and just out of a whim, just caught Al's attention.
Yeah. Again, it's pretty dark. The sun has kind of gone down, but the stone you could tell it had been worked at some point a long time ago. These things look ancient, weathered. There's cracks and fissures, little chips and pieces missing, but you don't see any sort of etching like before that you saw those holy symbols in the other stones. You can roll an investigation or arcana. If you're looking at maybe trying to determine any magical dwemer or anything like that.
I would have pulled out a torch to hold it up for him to see.
I had the same bonus to Arcana or Investigation, and it's going to be a 25, the roll. So whichever.
Yeah, so you kind of close your eyes, and I'm picturing Al trying to envision what could be cast upon these. Is there a vibration I can sense? Any energy at all? And you're just not picking up on anything. You're pretty confident that if there were ever any aura or enchantment or dwemer imbued in this rock, it's long gone.
Just innate rock. So.
Seems to be large rock, and these things are golly, almost 10 feet
And is that going to be for
wide.
just the one stone or like the whole thing?
The one you're in front of at 8
Okay.
is what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Al, does an 11 hit you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because a rock just absolutely blasted against the stone face from somewhere in the direction of the 9 o'clock stone, somewhere over from that direction. In fact, a couple of rocks came at you. And I'm going to have the party roll initiative.
The hell was that?
21 for initiative.
Oof.
On fire.
I've got a 16.
Virgili's got a 12.
I got a 14.
Okay, Gears?
11.
Yeah.
It's actually not bad. Everybody's above 10.
Rolled an 8.
Okay, give me 1 second. So stones have come at you guys, missing. Clatter, clatter, snap, snap. From the 9 o'clock position. The party, who I'm assuming kind of stayed back, would have probably heard the sound of stones hitting stone, and whatever reaction Al and Rue would have made, they probably would have heard that, because again, it's fairly still. It's it's cooling off. You're up in the foothills of the mountains. It's a crisp evening, and sound is reflecting off of the various smooth stone surfaces. Al, you are up. It is pretty dark beyond the light of your torch, which, if I'm not mistaken, is what, 20 feet bright light? Or is it 30 feet bright light? Let me pull that up.
I think it's 30 and 60.
30, 60.
Bright,
Yeah.
60 dim.
So what would you like to do, sir?
And I'm guessing by torchlight, I don't see anything.
It's 20 foot.
It came out of like the brush.
Yeah, it's 20 foot and 20 foot.
Okay.
And it's something that came in the direction of the 9 o'clock position stone.
But like I said, I don't see anything. It's between darkness and foliage and the such. I don't see
And it's
anything.
barely, that stone is barely in the, like, you can see the front half of it looming in the darkness, flickering in your dim torchlight. Torchlight gives you 20-foot radius, and then dim light for 20 more feet.
Good thing. In the direction from where I'm going to believe the stone came from, I'm going to cast Prestidigitation to kind of make a bright flash of light and see if anything gets kind of outlined or made visible, at least more so than just by my torchlight.
Okay. And you're going to put this precisely where?
In the general vicinity of where, I would guess the stone came from. Just if it's further away than my torchlight can reach, then just another source of light, kind of off in the distance to help me and anybody, at least Rue, see what's out there and what threw rocks at us, apparently.
Yeah, so the stone at the 9 o'clock position lights up quickly, and you get a good look at the stone. There's a few boulders in front of it. There's scrabble and broken rock and dust and dirt, and then the light goes out. You didn't see anything outlined other than the stone.
I'm going to basically hide and seek cover behind the 9 o'clock stone And that'll be it for my turn.
Okay. Very good. How about we go to Rue? What would you like to do, Rue?
So I think what I would like to do is set down the torch that I have, and sort of in that same motion of lowering to the ground, kind of continue that motion and roll off into the shadows. I would like to use my cunning action that I have now to hide in the shadows and hold an action to shoot a creature that comes that if I see a creature that comes out at us, I would like to shoot it, please.
Okay. And where are you going to put yourself? Kind of put the stone between you and the direction the rock came from?
Yeah, preferably that I can have some cover, but still maybe be able to see around it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and you can do that. And that basically is going to give you full cover, until you peek out, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
not a problem.
Do you want a stealth check on the hide?
Yeah, go ahead and roll with advantage. It's getting dark.
Oh, thank goodness, because that was a natural 1. And that's a natural 2.
Okay. So you are hiding.
So that's wait a minute. Stealth. So that's still a 9.
So there's a kind of at the front end of the 8 o'clock stone, right? 7 o'clock stone. There's a it's kind of a thorny mass of shrubbery there with no green around it. It's just the twigs. And you're like, I'm going to get behind this and hide. And Al, you're just kind of sitting there watching this, looking at him going, dude's not hiding. I can see him. Whatever else is out there can probably see him too. But Rue, you're confident that you're hidden behind this thorny, sparse, sticky bush thing. Anything else you want to do there, Chief?
No, I don't want to give away my position.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. Good. Fragile, you are up. Basically, the party, that boulevard that I described with the boulders on each side, from where it starts to the edge of the circle is about 30 feet. And I'm assuming the party is probably right around where that little boulevard begins. Would that be fair?
Sure.
And if you're speaking, you may be
hear you,
muted
Mike.
because I'm not hearing anybody.
Oh, I did. Look at that. I muted myself.
Okay.
Imagine that.
That never happens.
Hey, so I was a little ways back from the heart of this, correct?
Yeah, the only two that went into the circle were Rue and
Like the-
Al.
What I want to attempt to do, I was there at the last words of Ty Beam before they hung him, and I was at his hanging. I would like to cast Disguise Self on myself, and I would like to make myself look like Ty Beam. And I'm going to do my best, since I like to impersonate voices, to walk into the middle of the circle, be like, Sparnick, knock it off, get out here. And so I'm going to look like Ty Beam using my spell, and I'm going to have a book in my hand, and I'm going to be like, I got the book, come on.
Okay. And you said you're rocking Disguise Self?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you walk confidently, and your move for this turn will actually get you to the edge of the circle. So you can still have all the vocals and all the verbals, and you're going to look like Ty Beam. But the furthest you can advance will be the center, or excuse me, the south edge of the circle, kind of between the 4 and the 6 o'clock stones. You don't get any response.
Okay. I'm going to end my turn standing there with looking like a dude with a book.
Okay. Very good. Gears. Excuse me. I skipped Calavera. You should have gone before
How
Fragile. My
dare
apologies.
you.
Yes, please. We will amend that next round. But you're up.
From where we were, down further back, would we be able to have seen the direction that the stones would have come from?
You heard things, and that's about what you've got. I mean, it's dark.
Okay.
You know, the sun has set. You can see the torchlight. You can see where Rue and Al are. You saw that a torch was thrown, and then it kind of, you know, that covered a lot of the light. But you weren't able to get any idea of. You just heard a rock hitting rock, and then some scrabbling and moving around quickly.
Okay, I think
You would guess it's coming from
I
the 9 o'clock side, but you don't have any real visual on that.
do I not have visual because it's dark or because the angle that I'm looking at it from? I do have dark vision. If
Okay.
that helps.
Um,
I have like
yeah.
60-foot dark vision.
Okay. So from where you are, you can see the leading edge of the 9 o'clock stone from where you are. It's a roughly about a 60-foot straight line. 30 feet will get you up with Fragile at the southern edge of the circle. You didn't see anything throwing the stone. You just heard it hit, and you saw Rue and Al scramble for cover.
I think instead of going up to Fragile, Calavera is going to kind of go around the side because whatever's happening over there, she's pretty sure that she's not supposed to get involved with it. If there's a plan, she was not told.
Okay.
So
When you-
she's going to kind of circle around to one of the sides to see if she can, get a better visual on what's going on there.
Okay. Which side are you going to go to? Like the 9 o'clock side as you're looking at it, or are you going to go to the opposite side?
I think I want to go.
You know that the sounds of battle or whatever's going on is from the 9 o'clock side for sure. Just you heard everything. You can see where Al and Rue have hunkered down behind the 8 o'clock position stone.
I think she'll get a better visual that way. So I think she would be trying to make her way that way as
Okay.
sneakily as she can. Would it take?
You could roll.
I know I can't do that as a bonus action. Be sneaky.
Yeah, stealth is just basically your move. You could do that. There is a pretty large boulder. Al and Rue are between. They're on the back side of that 8 o'clock stone, and there's a boulder behind it. You could get in there and be near that boulder and get cover from either one of those. And you could stealth over there without
Oh
any
yeah,
trouble.
I'd love to hang out with the boulder.
Okay, so I'll kind of move you.
Yeah. Do
So you're kind of
so? Do I
behind.
have a better visual of anything there?
You can see the 9 o'clock stone much more clearly, but you don't see anything over there.
Okay.
If there's something over there, it's behind it, but you can't see anything.
Okay. Then yeah, I think she's just going to. Let me check my spells real quick to make sure nothing jumps out at me. I don't think it will. Yeah, she's just going to hang out there for now and kind of keep watch to see if anything jumps out at her.
Okay, very good. So Gears, you saw Rue and Al go down the boulevard, take a left, and go to that 8 o'clock stone with the torch flicker. And then you heard the same thing I described with stone hitting on the big stone. And then Fragile and Calavera both left kind of different directions. What would you like to do?
Sorry, straight down the middle.
Okay.
And how far in does 30-foot move get me?
Right up with Fragile.
Up with Fragile?
Yep.
They'll keep walking in.
Okay. How much move do you have, Gears?
It's normal walking speed is 30 feet, so
Okay,
it would
yeah,
take
so
me
you're gonna
60
be-
feet.
You're going to double move?
Yeah.
Okay, if you
And
double
crossbows
move,
up.
that would take you right to the kind of the excavated opening that I described in the center of the circle. And that would follow along where all the kind of the footprints go right in that direction.
Okay.
Okay, so
And
you
they'll have their crossbow out and
okay.
trained on the hole, but watching for wherever these stones came from.
Okay. So as you get there, you can see that earth has been piled around this opening in the ground. and it looks like there's stone cut stairs heading down into the earth. You're standing over a very dark opening. It looks like, there's a torch kind of laying behind you to the left that Rue had tossed down. And you
Would it have been too much to pick it up as I go by?
you can pick it up. That's fine. Let's go with that, man. So you've got this torchlight, and it's a very dark set of stairs going down. There's a couple of boulders kind of behind where all this earth has been excavated, and that's where you're standing with your crossbow and your torch. Anything else?
Anyone around it?
You don't see anything. No.
No. Okay. That ends my movement and my actions. Then.
Okay. So as you're standing there, from behind the boulder where you're standing, up pops a little creature, small, very slender, kind of got these little horns. It's a reddish, scaly thing, and it's holding a sling and a kind of an improvised, rough-looking dagger, and it's going to sling a rock at you.
See it?
Does a 9 hit your armor class? I'm guessing not even close.
Not even. They will just bat it away contemptuously as it comes in.
Yes, and you hit it out of the park.
Do I see this creature?
Rue, it depends on where you're looking. Last year, vision was trained on the side where the rocks came from, so you wouldn't really see that until you see motion. And then that thing pops back down. So maybe out of the corner of your eye. You see
Would
this.
that trigger my held action?
You could try. It's got at least half cover.
Yeah,
It was-
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. You're gonna fire with your short bow, right?
Yeah. I'm going to, I'll use my inspiration to see if I can do any better on that. Ooh, that's pretty good. That is, sorry, I should have had this pulled up. That is a 22 to hit.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay, I'm guessing I don't have any sneak attack on it though.
No, he's not within 5 feet, and you don't have advantage. Excuse me.
So that's 6 points of damage.
Okay. So you fire an arrow at this thing, and it catches it right in the neck, and you hear a croaky, sort of gravelly, lizardy squeak sound, and it off its feet backwards and disappears behind the boulder. And you feel very good about that because it was pretty cool and cinematic.
Yeah.
As you're doing so, would a 16 hit your armor class?
Mine, yes.
Good, because you just got hit in the head with a stone for 3 points of bludgeoning damage. As Al, I'm assuming you're probably watching all this unfold, awaiting your turn to come back around, I should say. And you see not one, but two of this very same little kind of draconic bipedal humanoids pop around from behind the 9 o'clock big slab stone, and each of them hit Rue with slings, and Rue, you're going to take 4 more damage. Bink, bink. And then they kind of move behind the 9 o'clock stone.
Okay.
It is now Algernon's turn.
All right. So there's a bunch of like loose rocks and things like on the ground, right? And I've seen whatever those little things that just hit Rue, I've seen them and they duck behind a stone, but I do know where they are, right?
Yeah, you know that there are 2 behind that 9 o'clock positioned stone. You know that one was just hit with an arrow and dropped behind the boulder that's right across the opening in the earth from where Gears is standing at the center of the circle.
All right, so the two that are by the 9 o'clock stone, I imagine they're not on the inside of the circle; they'd be on the outside.
Yeah, and they're basically
Okay.
full cover at this
Um,
point.
uh, we'll see about that. So I'm gonna cast catapult, an object that weighs between 1 and 5 pounds. So I imagine a there's got to be a rock around here that would fit
Absolutely.
that
Yeah, there's a
description.
lot of loose rock.
Um,
You
that's
got it.
that's going that is going to be on their side of the stone, so opposite of my side. I'm just going to
Mhm.
pick a stone up from basically behind them, and I'm going to hurl it at one of them. It's going to have to make a dex saving throw, but I'm going to use one of my divination wizard portent dice and give it a 5 for its saving throw.
Man,
Nice.
that is brilliant, dude. Because it's not even like a target creature; it's in a direction you choose. So you can choose your item and choose the direction it flies, and it's going to fail its save.
The object has to be within 60 feet of me, and then it will travel 90 feet in a straight line.
Yeah,
from
that's
where
easy.
It is to the object.
Great. I failed my save, so roll me some damage, and it looks like 3d8 bludgeoning. So I'm sure this is going to end well. And you know what you're fighting.
It's going to be 16 points of damage.
Yeah, you just made kobold paste. You hear this again, a gravelly grunt and a squeak and the thud of the rock and the thud of flesh between two rocks. And it goes quiet.
Squish.
Would you mind if I gave you an
Wild
inspiration for that amazing use of a spell?
I mean, yeah. Look, man, my whole life is going to be about changing die rolls in your
That
game.
was awesome.
So if you want to keep giving me the chance to do that, I will take them.
Well, you combine that with catapult. That was brilliant. So yeah, take an inspiration. It was well done.
All right.
Anything else?
So yeah, squish.
Squish.
No, man, I'm good having done that. That was
Okay.
cool.
Awesome. That was way cool. Rue, you're up. You know there's one of those little lizardy looking draconic sort of creatures behind the 9 o'clock position stone. You heard what sounded like the squishing of another one. You know there were at least two of them because you got hit by two sling rocks.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna bonus action hide and hold my action to shoot that thing if it pops back up.
Okay, so go ahead and roll your stealth because you're feeling all of a sudden like, God, I'm not as hidden as I would have thought I was.
Well, yeah. I mean, shooting would unhide me anyway.
Right, that too.
But that time, that's a 22.
Yeah,
So I find a
you
much bigger firm to hide behind.
yeah,
this
you
time.
realize if you just take a few steps back, you can take advantage of full cover behind this giant 10-foot wide, 20-foot high slab of stone. And you're going to hold a shooting action?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Calavera, got you in order this time.
So did I manage to see the other one?
You saw everything I described. I know you're sitting there watching, wondering what's going
Okay.
on. You know that there's one of these little creatures behind the 9 o'clock position stone.
Did I hear? I forget if I heard if like that one got hurt or not. I
You
don't
heard
think so.
you heard two of them go down. Yeah,
Okay.
the one up near
I
Gears
think she's
went
going
down.
to keep. I think she's going to try to circle around again to get an actual visual.
Okay. So what you got here, you have this ring of standing stones, 60 feet in
Mhm.
diameter. There's it's not a perfect ring, but again another kind of ring of big boulders that's about 15 or so feet wider out past the inner ring of standing stones. You could literally just circuit that You could go from the boulder you're at now to a boulder that's closer to the 9 o'clock stone easily with your move, and you could roll stealth to see if you can try to do that without being seen.
I would love to.
Am I picking up what you're putting down here?
That is. You are indeed, and that is a. That is going to be an 11.
Okay. The beauty of this is you've got the cover of darkness. As you arrive at the boulder, and I'm assuming you're going to stay to the outside of the boulder versus the inside that faces the standing stone circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You kind of nestle down. Just as you're getting into position, you look ahead. There's another boulder ahead of you. You saw one of those little lizardy draconic guys kind of back there, and when he saw you, he popped down. So you've made eye contact with each other, and he's down and you're down, but you know that they're there and they know that you're there.
Oh no, I've been seen.
But you've got like partial cover. Like half cover.
Okay, I'm gonna. Do I want to use a spell slot right now? I don't know if I want to use a spell slot right now. How much cover would they have?
They also
Would
have
I be
half
able to
cover.
tell?
They also have half cover. You said you had dark vision, didn't you?
I do.
Yeah. They have
Yep.
half cover.
60 feet.
You can see them slightly. They're probably about 30 feet from you.
So then what Galavera is going to do is she's going to use her action to cast Produce Flame
Okay.
again. And so this light, blazes up next to her, and she's going to make an attack and also hope that, that'll help, let everyone else know that something's over there.
Nice. Good. Okay, so make your ranged spell attack.
All right, and that is a +5. If I could not just throw my dice across the room, that would be great. That's fine, I have more. That's probably gonna miss. That was a 9.
It does miss. What everybody sees, though, is a mote of fire from behind a boulder outside the ring. There's this shadowy figure there, and this mote of fire goes over to another boulder that's also outside the ring and just kind of streaks across the sky. And you see, Calavera, you see it kind of duck, and it just goes over.
Mm-hmm.
And you miss. Anything else you'd like to do?
Oh no, I missed. No, I'm just gonna duck behind this rock.
Very good. Who else has dark vision in the party? Or the ability to see?
Really does.
Fragile does? Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's a 60-foot thingy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, Fragile, it's your turn. And you can see, you saw this mote of fire outside the ring. Something's going on over there. You saw the two kobolds get up and hit Rue with rocks and slings. You saw, more like you heard one get smushed with a rock as something happened to cause that. You also see one standing. You know that I told you the 3 o'clock stone is actually tipped flat down, and you see one crouched over there. It looks like it thinks it has cover, but it does not. And it's probably about 60 feet from you, from where you stand at the very southern edge of the circle, the ring.
So it sees me, right?
Yeah. It's holding a sling with, it looks like it's got a stone hanging in it.
I'm going to let my my disguise drop.
Okay.
Because if Spurnick is around and he sees me cast a spell, he's clearly going to know it's not tie beam. And I'm going to attempt to Eldritch Blast it.
Okay, yeah. You may do so.
That is a 15 versus AC.
Okay, that hits.
for 7 points of damage.
Okay, so describe to me what happens when you end this kobold with an Eldritch Blast.
Oh yeah, you guys see a ray of black energy. We've got a little bit of light going on, so it doesn't. You're able to see it travel through the darkness itself, and it hits this thing square in the chest and just launches it backwards, and it disappears from sight and does not come back.
Okay, it's down. Very good. Anything else you'd like to do for Julie? You still have movement. Gears is 30 feet straight ahead of you along the kind of the footpath, the tracks in the dirt. At the opening, he's got a torch kind of leaning over the opening, having just had a
I
rock
think
thrown
I'd
at
like
him.
to head 30 feet towards that, towards the one that I killed.
Okay.
I feel like if I've got this right in my brain, somebody's already over at the 9 o'clock position.
Yes.
So I think I want to go and just kind of keep an eye on the opposite side to make sure
Okay.
we do not get hit from behind.
Cool. Yeah, so you make your way over there, and you're going to pass the 4 o'clock position stone, and there's actually a good-sized boulder that you could hunker down behind that's between the 4 o'clock
Outstanding.
stone and the excavated center where Gears is standing. So you could just kind
Okay.
of cruise in there and get like half cover from anything that's the
Perfect.
boulder is blocking you from. So okay, end your turn there. How
Yep.
about Gears? You're standing over this excavated opening where the stone is, and what would you like to do? Holding a torch?
Holding a torch, looking down quickly to see if there's anything coming up.
Yeah, you don't see anything.
If
It's a
not,
dark set of stairs descending into the darkness, except for your
okay. And
torchlight.
If not, circle around it and see if they can find the creature that pitched a stone at them to annoy them greatly.
To the left, you say the 9 o'clock.
Also,
Is that what you were
yeah,
saying?
sure.
Yeah.
And also vaguely considering whether or not any of these boulders that are near the opening could be rolled down into the opening if something decided to come back up.
The one where the kobold was that was killed is the biggest one, and it's looking like it's going to need a lever and a fulcrum and 4 or 5 people to move. It's pretty hefty. The smaller ones wouldn't be all that exciting to throw down the stairs. They probably wouldn't do a whole lot except maybe stub a toe or skin a shin. But you do, looking left
So
to the north edge of the 9 o'clock stone, there is a kobold standing there. And it is one of the ones who hit Rue with a stone.
Like
I should
magic,
have
they
with
just
my
keep
crossbow.
popping up.
Go ahead and fire.
Fire away. Fire in the hole. 12 plus 5, 17.
Yeah, that hits. And it's kind of standing there looking at you kind of dumbfounded. Like it sees you and it doesn't know what it's looking at is the look on its face. It's like, huh?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. 8 plus 3 is 11 points of damage.
Yeah, so you run a crossbow bolt right through the midsection of this thing and blow its back apart, and it just falls over dead. Oof. Gone.
Good. Works for me.
Anything else,
Nothing
Gears? You gonna
reload while I'm
take any
moving
movement
in-
or?
Just working the reload and getting into position at the end of my move.
Very good. Okay. Calavera, your buddy behind the stone over there pops up and sneers at you and says something unintelligible in your direction. Does a 14 strike
see
your
him?
armor class? Yeah, Rue, you see him. You may take your held action.
With advantage?
Yeah, 14
Does it
hits.
hit? Okay.
I would like to ask it not to hit me.
Okay, it's
It
not
does
gonna
not
under-
work.
it's not going to understand what you're saying. You're going to take 6 points of bludgeoning damage as a stone just hits you right in the shoulder hard. Okay, Rue, you can make your attack. This thing is well further than 5 feet away from Calavera, so that would not
Okay.
trigger sneak attack.
That's okay. That's a 24 to hit.
That'll do it.
and it takes 9 points of damage.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about your arrow shot? What that kind of looks like? Because that's a dead kobold.
So does my held action trigger before he gets his attack off?
Well, he's standing up and attacking. All this stuff is happening at the same time, so he's throwing and you're firing. So it's like simultaneous
so
action.
He still got to throw it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's
Okay.
gonna just go up and
So-
sling. If we were doing like
So yeah, I think
first edition D&D, we'd have to count the segments. If you had a lower segment attack speed, then you could, but not in fighting.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
But okay.
Lord Gazumba's out
So-
there. He knows where
You
I'm
don't
at.
want to. It's yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
So as he pops up, I've got my bow out, and I'm just like seeking targets.
Yeah.
And my bow just kind of snaps up to line up with him, and just as the rock leaves his hand, the arrow just catches him right through the ear.
Yeah. Takes him off his feet.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, he's down. Fragile, to your northeast, outside the ring of stones, you see another one of these little guys pop up behind a boulder and sprint in the direction of where the one you killed was and hunker down unhidden behind the flat boulder. This guy's a little smarter, so he's going to get half cover. He's going to hunker way down. Because these boulders, these standing stones, rather, they're 20 feet tall, 10 feet wide, and a good 2 feet thick. So he's going to get down nice and low. But you could still see him pretty well for a half cover.
So since I moved 30 feet last time and hid behind that one boulder, I could probably make it to him now.
He's about 30 feet from you, yes.
All right. Well, I'd like to close with him.
Well, on your turn, you can.
And I'm. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
my turn.
No, it's not your
Okay.
turn yet. No, I'm still
Gotcha.
running through all the kobolds. And he's going to, move and sling at you. I'm guessing a 10 probably doesn't hit.
No, it does not.
Okay, so a stone just goes skittering across the ground near your feet. And he kind of, because he's trying to make a dive and get down, he really didn't help himself with that regard.
I'm going to chastise it and in a very motherly voice tell it that it made a bad choice.
Okay, yeah, it did. Calavera, you're going to see another one of these guys. There's another boulder behind the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock position stone on the outer ring, and it's going to pop up and run and hunker down to replace the guy that just plinked you with a stone.
Okay.
Okay. He also is going to try to throw a stone at you with a sling, and because of again kind of the combined movement and all of that, it hits the boulder you're hiding behind. So no worries there. For Geely, you see from the 12 o'clock position stone and the 2 o'clock position stone these forms rising in the air, these little wings, and they're these kobold guys, but these ones have wings, and they're carrying rocks. And they rise, they flutter up, and they double move. One is over Gears, and one is over you. And that ends their turn. They double move, they cannot take an action. You wouldn't think dropping a rock would cost an action, but yeah. So we're back to the top. Al, you are up, sir. You're kind of behind the 8 o'clock position stone with Rue. You probably saw the kobold sneak up to the outer ring 9 o'clock position and target Calavera and miss.
Do I have line of sight on anybody, or is this still I'm on the inside, they're all on the outside behind stones?
Do you have dark vision?
I do not.
Yeah, so you can't see him. You saw the movement over there, and you saw a stone come from there and go to where you saw Calavera disappear, but you don't really see him. It's dark. He's probably 40 feet from you over there.
All right. Yeah, Al's gonna kind of peek from behind the stone that he's been taking cover on, and knowing that he can't particularly see or target something, he's just going to cast like a ray of frost just in that general direction, most likely at disadvantage, just because he can't see anything. But he
Right.
just, like I said, if he has an idea where it's at, he'll just take his shot and
Yep.
kind of hope for the
And
best.
he's got half cover, and you're going to roll at disadvantage, so he gets a +2 to AC, and then obviously disadvantage. But why not, I say? Ray of Frost.
It's going to be at disadvantage. It's going to be a 17 actually to hit.
Wow, nice. Nice. You hit it. You frosted it. So I imagine Calavera sees this really cool, like, sparkly jet of coldness come from Algernon and strike this little devilish, draconic little guy.
It's going to take 6 points of damage and have its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of my next turn.
What's cool about that is when they're deceased, their speed is reduced fully. So tell me how you end this kobold with your Ray of Frost.
That was nice.
Just kind of blindly, like very Will Ferrell action movie, just kind of blindly shooting over the top of something. Al thinks about maybe paladins and stuff who did not roll as nicely and do as well at other times in the multiverse.
Recent history.
Some people are still hurting about this. And then just kind of blindly shoots out this, this frost ray. Hears everything kind of turn crispy and frozen, and then gets back behind the rock because he's still a squishy wizard and doesn't want to get hurt.
All right, excellent, well done. We are to Rue. Rue, you just saw Al blast this guy and freeze him and kill him.
Do I have eyes on the two flying ones?
You're kind of behind this big slab of stone, so not without stepping out. Everything you've seen, either behind the 9 o'clock standing stone or the boulder outside that ring in that position, seems to have been killed. Everything you've seen moving has gone down. So you don't know if there are any other threats there. You haven't seen any. And that's what you've got. Do you refresh my memory? Do you have dark vision or no?
No.
Okay. You definitely see torchlight from the center of the, like the glow of, there's a torchlight in the center of the circle.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the opposite side of the boulder that I've been hiding behind.
Okay.
Just so I come out of a different place.
South, yeah.
But yeah, but I am going to poke my head out and see what I can see.
Perfect. That gives you direct line of sight. And what you see is Gears standing over this darkness, this dark hole in the earth. He's holding a torch aloft, and above him, as he looks up, is a winged one of these little guys with a pretty good sized rock in its arms, looking like it's probably going to try to drop it on Gears. It's probably 10 feet above Gears. And so the angle you move to the kind of the south end of the boulder instead of the north end of the boulder, or the standing stone, I'm sorry. And that gave you direct line of sight. You can also see Fragile hunkered down behind a boulder, just kind of the outline in the torch flickering light. And you see something moving above her as well. But again, that's right at the range of that torch dim light.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is come out from this boulder and kind of try to dive into another hidden spot. If I can find some shadows to hide in again.
Okay. Are you trying to get closer to Gears and the flying kobold, or just get a better line of sight, or
just try to get? I want to shoot from the darkness. I want to hide.
Okay.
First, so that I have some advantage.
There's the two rocks, these kind of square rocks that mark the end of the boulevard at the south end of the ring. You could go right up against that and give yourself half cover and shoot from there. And you'd have a straight line of sight at the winged kobold above Gears.
Okay. So should I roll the stealth then to hide?
Yeah, because if you manage to hide, then you're back to full cover, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll that and then make your
Well,
attack.
it would give me. Presumably, if I was hidden, it would give me advantage on the attack.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yep, you got it.
So that's a 23 stealth.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Oops. Okay. And with advantage, then. Oh, that's not very good. That is only an 11 to hit.
Okay. Yeah, the arrow goes up and this leathery, dragony wing just kind of beats it down and it clatters to the ground beside Gears. Falls harmlessly to the turf.
Okay.
But it was a cool move. Did you roll when you got into position? Like run, roll, pop up to your feet, fire, and slink down?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
Definitely. Would one of our +2s help you to hit that?
Yes, it would.
Good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
and yes,
I will
it would.
do that then.
That would hit it exactly.
Okay.
I think you had
So I'm firing.
4 of those left.
I think I'm actually firing at the one above Fragile then, if I've got the distance.
Okay. So you're down to 3 of those. You're down to 3 of the +2s, by the way. And 1 d20 roll as a
That's
party.
9 points of damage on that one.
Yeah, so give me a full description of how you end this winged kobold.
Yeah, so Rue kind of pokes his head out from behind the boulder and assesses the situation and kind of just dives and somersaults into sort of a more hidden position and comes up, and the bow is just naturally falls into just the right position, where he hesitates for just a second to line it up, and then the arrow just goes right through the abdomen of this flying thing and kind of pins through the abdomen and through one wing, so it kind of flies off into the dark.
Yeah, and you hear Fragile, the thud, as this thing lands lifeless about 15 feet from you and drops its rock not upon you.
Nice.
However, I am now not hidden.
Yes, that is correct.
I'm going to note the arrow in it probably and assume that it was Rue.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay. Well played. Calavera, you are next.
So how many can I see? I know that there's one flying over top of Gears, I think. Is that one still there?
You'd have to come around from your boulder, and you have 60
I'll
feet
come
of
around
dark
too.
vision, right? Oh, he's got a torch, so he's illuminated.
Yep.
Yeah, there's one above Gears. And you could come to the south side of
And
your
then-
boulder and have a very good line of sight directly to Gears and the flying kobold, and you're about 60 feet from it.
Then are there any other ones that I know are still about?
You don't see any.
Alright, so yeah, I think what I'm gonna do with this one is yeah. So I think what Calavera is gonna do for this is she's going to draw back her hand again as if she's gonna throw another ball of flame.
Yep.
But instead, as it leaves her hand, instead brightens and bursts into a bolt of. It goes through. It hits white, and then it fades back into this kind of dark but still glowing color. She's casting Guiding Bolt.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
And so,
Is that a ranged attack or a
yes,
save? Ranged attack.
it's a ranged attack.
Very nice.
Does a dirty 20 hit?
Do we use
Yes,
the? Oh, there we go.
sure does.
Okay, this is going to hurt it a lot. That is 4d6 radiant damage.
Whew.
Just why I'm glad I grabbed my dice bag. Okay. So that is so that's going to be 10 radiant damage.
Okay. Nice.
Is it still alive?
No.
Give us a good description of what happens here. Gears,
So,
all I
like,
know above you is going to be a lot of light, a lot of flesh, and potentially a rock headed in your direction.
Yeah, so this bolt hits, and when it hits, have you ever seen it where fire just kind of wraps around something?
Yeah.
As it hits, it's another like spark of light that kind of envelops and wraps around this thing, and then it flares again, and then like it's so dark that kind of like takes up all of the vision, and then it just kind of out, and it falls to the ground dead.
Yeah, that's
Maybe a
nice.
little
And it just
Maybe a
shrieks
little.
and sizzles. And Gears, a fairly large rock drops beside you. And then right behind it drops a very cooked, sizzled kobold. And as this is all happening, you almost have to shield. I'm picturing this being like fireworks bright, like phosphorus, or,
Yeah.
what is that material that they use? Magnesium to make fireworks. I mean, it's like this white hot bright. It illuminates the entire radius inside the circle and then snuffs out in this thing, just a curled husk smoking on the ground beside you.
Hey, Wiley.
Yes.
I'd like to toss an inspiration to Calavera for all those great spell descriptions.
Nice.
Killing it.
Very good. Very good. Anything else you want to do, Calavera?
No, Calavera is just like stopped there, her hand still outstretched, kind of just staring with her jaw dropped. Did I do that?
Nice.
No, that's what she got.
Okay. Fragile, your turn is next. You are 30 feet from a kobold that is trying to hide itself behind the fallen 3 o'clock position slab of stone.
Okay, so I've got two questions.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge, are there any other kobolds in the area besides the one that I see?
That's the only one you're aware of.
And two, am I aware if kobolds speak common or not?
How would you know that? Let's see. I'm going to say you would know that. I think it's fairly common knowledge. Kobolds,
Okay.
Show up here and there. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to close on it, but
Okay.
I'm going to tell it in common to drop its weapons if it wants to live. Its friends are already dead.
Okay.
And so I'm going to try to add an intimidation into that.
Okay, roll intimidation.
It's a 21.
Okay. Okay. It stands up, kind of slack-jawed after the pyrotechnics display over the center of the circle, and drops its dagger and its sling and just kind of looks at you with eyes the size of dinner plates.
I'm like, come out here, little one. Tell us why you're attacking us.
It just looks at you and spits.
Did it really spit? I'm going to attempt
yeah.
to slap it in the mouth.
Okay.
Just backhand it.
Yeah, go ahead and roll attack.
It's 14.
That hits.
It's a strength check, right?
Yeah, it would be edge or strength modifier, but you've hit it.
And I got a +0, so it's 14. It's a hit.
Yep. I'm actually
I
giving
think.
it a
1 point of damage plus your strength mod.
I'm giving it a lower armor class because it's not getting a dex mod because it's standing stationary, and it's not
So I backhand it. What's the damage for?
It'll be a point
A
plus
punch.
your strength.
All right, my strength's 0.
Okay, so 1 point of damage as you snap
And
its neck over.
So good. I'm gonna backhand it and ask it if it wants to try that again.
It spits at you again. Only this time it spits blood at you.
Are all of you that stupid?
Kinda, yeah.
All right. Well, I already used my action to slap it, so
Okay.
I have no actions left.
Okay, yes, you're standing there kind of toe to toe with this kobold. So all of you see for Geely go over there and the scene kind of unfolds. Gears, you're next.
Yeah.
You have a smoking
so
husk of a dead
combatants, we-
winged kobold at your feet.
I was half thinking of catching the rock as it came down, but I decided against that. So the only combatant that we see in evidence right now is the one that Virgilia is basically toe to toe with, right?
Yep.
All right. I appreciate the effort, Mike, but Gears is going to rotate around, one hand the crossbow and shoot it.
Okay.
And miss.
Okay.
I think. 5 plus 5 is 10. I think that misses.
Yeah, that misses.
Yeah, so the bolt just burrows into the ground beside the kobold, maybe a scant inch or 2 from its head.
There you go.
But you at least can be like, dude, I'm right here.
Shrugs. It turns and moves towards Virgilia and this kobold while reloading the crossbow.
Okay. It is the kobold's turn. So you're going to go over to Fragili?
Yep.
By the 3 o'clock rock? Okay. Yeah, this thing's going to bend over and pick up its dagger and take a swing at Fragili. Does a 15 hit?
A 15 would hit.
Nice.
You know what? I'm gonna let it hit me. Go, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I could probably block it, but 15 hits.
3 piercing damage. As it just slashes at
Okay,
you wildly and
gonna
it's got blood running down its chin. Gears, make a perception
Okay,
check.
I'm gonna spit. Hold on. I'm gonna spit back at it.
Okay. That's cool. It understands that.
Okay.
Yeah. Gears, make a perception check.
That ain't good. 5.
Okay, good. That's fine. All right. Does 22 hit you as a little draconic shaped little guy pops out from the 2 o'clock rock and fires a sling at you?
Sorry, who?
22 Gears?
Gears?
Yeah.
Yep, that hits.
Okay, so you take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as a stone clanks off your chest. Came from behind the kind of the north side of the 2 o'clock position standing stone. Algernon, Al, it is your turn. You can make out the form of Calavera off to your west, to your left, beside a big boulder outside the ring. And you see no other combatants.
Calavera is the only thing I could see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go move near to her. So I guess I'm gonna come from around.
You have a straight line of sight to her.
Would she be within my?
You can go straight to her.
Okay. Okay. And if I move straight to her from now being outside of the circle, can I see any little winged, little dragonkin little things?
You cannot. You can see Gears is across the circle with a torch, or what looks like the silhouette of Gears. I mean, it's like 80 feet from you because they're clear across the circle. You see the silhouette of Fragili there, and you see them facing something, but they're blocking your line of sight. And that's what you see. You can also see. That's what you can see. Yep. Because it is dark as night out.
I guess I'm just gonna move to Calavera just to get from outside of the circle, and I guess just kind of make sure she's okay. I think she got hit by a rock. Um, and then yeah, I'm just gonna basically move from inside of the circle to the outside just to get a better view of everything going on.
Okay. Yeah. So you and Calavera can have a brief conversation if you wish. You're right there.
I just came to make sure you were okay.
She startles a bit, like she didn't know some, and she was, yes. I mean, I think, and she like reaches up to her forehead and pulls her hand away. Notices that she definitely got hit in the head. She's like, I am still upright, and so it is nothing I cannot fix later. Are you all right?
I am fine.
Okay. I think we're all okay.
All right. Rue, we're going to jump to you. It's your turn in the initiative order.
Did I see the one that popped up?
No, even if you had dark vision, it's out of your range. It's blocked by the stone. You saw a stone hit Gears that came from somewhere north of Gears from the 2 o'clock standing stone area, but you...
So I know there's one in that general direction,
yeah,
but I don't know where.
Right.
Do I feel like I can get to where I would have a direct line of sight and still be able to shoot it?
If you move to the boulder Fragile was behind before she just moved away, and you stay on the west side of that boulder, you will have full cover behind the boulder. If you pop out, it's half cover. And if it pops out to throw again, you would be able to hit it.
Okay, I'll do that. So I'll move to that boulder and try to hide behind it.
Yep. Now it's going to be in dim light, so I'm going to say that you won't have advantage even though you're hiding, because of the fact that the darkness and the half cover is a struggle. Like the darkness is giving you disadvantage, so it erases your advantage. So you would roll normally to attack. Does that make sense? Because you're going to be 50 feet from this thing, and the torch is a good 30 feet. So there's illumination, but it's in the dim light range of the torch. See what I'm saying? So when it pops out, you'll see something there, but it's not fully lit.
Yeah. Well, I only got a 10 on my stealth anyway.
Okay.
But I'll hold an action to try to shoot it when it pops out.
So you can sit there with half cover and watch. Very good. And you're about 50 feet from that thing. So, all right. Fragile, you have a kobold standing in front of you, sneering, bleeding from the mouth, covered in your spittle.
So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cast my hex on this creature. And then I'm going to tell it, I told you that was a bad choice. And so I'm going to take my rapier and I'm going to attempt to skewer it.
Nice. Is this your
rapier?
Your new shiny magical rapier?
Yes, it is.
That's wonderful.
Because he's hexed, I get +2, +1 for the sword. That's an 18 versus AC.
Whew, that does it, buddy.
And that is for 5 + 2. That's for 7 points of piercing damage.
Stabby stab, yeah. So give us a good description, Fragile, of how you run your rapier through this kobold.
So I'm actually going to reverse it in my hand, and I'm just going to chop down on it and basically skewer it and stab it so it's stuck to the ground. So I have to step on its body to pull my rapier back out of it.
Nice.
And when this happens, Gears is next to me, right?
Yes.
So Gears would notice that those slash marks that were on me from the kobold's dagger hit, those wounds seemed to just heal themselves. As this thing dies, my wounds seem to be healed from its death.
Interesting. Cool. Anything else you'd like to do for Julie?
I like to look around to see if there's any more kobolds.
You know from standing right beside Gears that he just got hit with a stone from something probably behind the 2 o'clock position slab. Which is... You could get on either side of it in your full movement. You could be on the inside of it or the outside of it with your 30 feet of movement.
I'm going to move to the outside of it.
Yeah, so if you do that, you're going to be standing 10 feet from a kobold who's holding a dagger and a sling.
Okay. That's fine with me.
And he's sneering at you.
I'm kind of in my rage right now.
Nice.
Not a barbarian, but I'm pretty mad that something spit on me, and I'm going to take it out on all his friends.
Very good. Gears, it's your turn.
I'll follow Fragile in the direction of where that stone came from.
Yep.
And when I see a kobold, I'm going to pop it with my crossbow.
Nice.
Assuming I can actually hit something.
Make your attack, sir.
All right. So, nat 20.
Oh boy. So I think we know how this is going to end. I'm curious what the number is if you want to make the number available to us. It's max damage, and then roll your damage again.
For pure record keeping.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. It's just what you did. So this is max damage is 8. I rolled an 8 plus 3. So that's 19 damage as the bolt just flashes out of the crossbow, takes the kobold in the mouth, carries it backwards, and pins it against something nearby as it hangs there, quickly dying.
We'll say there's an old withered tree that's half broken down, a couple of creepy looking limbs. Picture like the Tree of Woe in Conan the Barbarian. And you just stapled a kobold to it with your crossbow.
Can I, just for good measure, also shoot it?
Sure. Yeah. As this thing sticks to the tree, you want to make sure it's dead.
Yeah.
And if it was wearing shoes, the shoes are still where it was standing.
Right, yeah. Blew it out of his boots. Yeah, nice. Go ahead and make your attack roll, Rue.
Yeah, so I guess it's a disadvantage because I don't have the advantage canceling it out because my stealth roll is terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's still a 21 to hit.
That, I'll let it hit this time, barely.
Nice.
Yeah. So your arrow disappears into its chest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nicely stapled to the tree. 2 points of contact. Yeah. Safely secured. So as you all stand there after you kind of witness this, it gets very silent, very quiet. No sound. What would you like to do? That was Rue taking his held action. Al, you're actually up. Top of the order.
So there's nothing out there. I don't see anything out there. Those are two separate ideas.
You don't see anything. You don't hear anything other than the sounds, any sounds that your party mates might be making from maybe chuckling after stapling the kobold to a tree.
Because we were collectively not nice to those kobolds. Like smashed them with a rock, pinned them to a tree, like just all kinds of.
I tried to talk to him.
He did. The effort was
I
made.
mean, yeah. I mean, they didn't want to listen. It's fine.
That's right.
I'm going to, I guess, move. I guess towards the like excavated part in the center
Okay.
of the circle.
It would take you like three
And,
quarters
so
of
it's
a double move to get there. About 45 feet.
Yeah, let me go ahead and make the double move
Okay.
towards it, and then I guess does that get me like if I take the full double move, can I go down the stairs a little bit?
Yeah.
Halfway.
Yeah, that would get you about 15 feet down the stairs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take the double move and kind of go halfway down the stairs, both for cover from anything that may be outside, and also to see or to begin to look what's down here.
Okay. Yeah, so it is absolutely blacker than dark. It is dark down there. And that's kind of what you got. It looks like the stairs descend about a total of 20 feet. And you're about 5 feet from the bottom. And it looks like they probably open into a large space. And you can tell looking at it that the ceiling is about 15 feet from the floor, in that space at the bottom of the stairs. And it is
Are the
quiet.
stairs natural or were they?
They're cut stone.
Okay.
Yeah, they're cut stone. They're worked. It is silent,
Right.
and it is dark.
I'll be chilling down in this hole.
Okay. So anybody who's looking back at the center will see Algernon dart out from the western outer ring of boulders, streak across the circle to the center excavation, and dash down the stairs and vanish. Rue, you're up.
I'm going to follow Algernon.
Okay. You are about 15 feet from the opening. So you could single move and be beside him and still have your action. And bonus action.
I will, for my action, I will draw another torch and light it.
Okay.
And can I don't know how much of this I can do. What I'd like to do is light the torch, but then also put away my crossbow, my short bow, and draw my short sword.
Okay. I would say like stone your bow would be the bonus action, and you could draw your short sword. So you would end your complete round, your turn that round, with a lit torch and a short sword in your hand. I'm picturing you, doing some of this on the way over. Maybe you pull the torch out as you run.
Yeah.
You get there, bonus action, stow the bow, action, light the torch, and then draw your sword as more of a item interaction. So you can be standing there beside Al.
Perfect.
And your torch illuminates a large space. Its length going forward from where you are vanishes into the darkness, so it's bigger than your torch can illuminate. And it's about 30 feet wide. Your stairwell empties. You're about, what did I say, Al? 10 feet from the floor? 5 feet from the floor, sorry. From being on the ground level. And it's about 30 feet wide, and the stairwell enters into the center of that wall, that room. So it's 30 feet wide room, and it vanishes into darkness. You see a big stone pillar. The floor is wide, square stone tiles. The pillar is in the center, like along the center line of the room, about 15 or so feet from the end of the stairwell. And then you make out the shadow of maybe another pillar about 15 or 20 feet beyond that. The pillar that you can see, the front face of it, has this beautiful stonework carved into it that it looks like a dragon, a series of dragons kind of wrapped around. The ceiling is about 15 feet up, and it's like they're holding the ceiling up with their forelimbs, right, with their little front arms. You can see on either side of the walls some very faded mosaics depicting various color dragons in flight. And then you can also see kind of some of the tiles are pushed up by roots that, have kind of poked up through the tile work, maybe from ancient trees or something. And the torch kind of flickers and hisses above you as you take in this eerie, silent scene. Calavera, you're up.
I think Calavera's gonna follow along with everyone else.
Okay, so you can, from your position, just like Al, you were right beside him, you could full double move and be right behind them on the stairs. And you now see what Rue and Al saw that I just described. So Gears and Fragile, you watched Calavera, Rue, and Elgernon disappear down into the hole. Fragile, you're up next.
How far am I from the hole?
About 30 feet. You're over at the 3 o'clock position, that opening that's been excavated out into the earth that they just vanished into is 30 feet from you, right in the center.
Fragile will head over to the hole, and I will double move to get down as far into it as I can.
Yeah, and you can end up right behind them. And I misspoke. I had you at the 3 o'clock. You're actually at the 2 o'clock position, but it's still equidistant 30 feet, so that's fine. So for Geely Dash's Gears,
Okay,
what are you going to do?
That's my move.
You're right behind them on the stairwell, taking in the scene I just described.
I'm following Fragile as well, so double move toward the hole and following the party into the.
Okay, so the entire group
beneath.
is, as Alice in Chains would sing, down in the hole. You also notice
Suddenly something rolls
in the room a number of like rotted chairs and tables. And you can only see about 30 feet into the room is where the dim light melds into darkness. So again, a bunch of rotted chairs and tables. So your guess is maybe this was like a great hall, maybe for ceremonial events, celebrations, something to that extent. And that is where we're going to stop for the week, for tonight. Very good. So good job on the kobolds. They were only kobolds, but y'all didn't know that for quite a little while.
Things, man.
Yeah.
I love kobolds.
Well, and they had the advantage of knowing where they all were and being able to see you with their dark vision and having cover. So, woo! Yeah, good song applied, Carmen, down in the hole. All right, well, thank y'all for a fun session. Thanks for all the folks in chat, man. This is one of the larger crowds we've had, so we've been trending anywhere between 15 and 20 viewers tonight, so that's pretty cool. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out. And if you haven't followed our Twitch channel, by all means, I invite you to do so. And I'll put our Discord, click that link. Hopefully it still works, and you should be able to join our Discord and come hang out and learn a little bit more about our game and our community. So let's go around the horn and do a quick outro. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you and what you're up to. We'll start with Gears.
Hey, Dave. K. Wilson on most of the socials. I play Gears. As I think I said last week, generally, mostly what I do is comment on things and maybe introduce some new things that I've found. Primarily interested in technology, and I work in information management, which is quite possibly one of the most boring fields of technology, or so I'm told.
All right, very good, man. I couldn't do that. I know that's for sure, man. I'm a anti-technology person. All right, Manny, Al.
I'm Manny, at Growed Up Geek on the socials. When I'm not here, you might find me playing in one-shots where Wiley brutalizes me and makes playing my 22 AC Paladin not fun. Saving throws are bad. If not here, I run a more than 1 year campaign in a home game with a bunch of my friends. That will be wrapping up soon and moving on to Rime of the Frost Maiden in 2021.
Nice. Awesome. Very good.
Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
out, everybody.
Yeah,
I really
thanks.
appreciate it. There's a lot of you guys tonight.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Next time you come back, bring a friend, and it's gonna be 2 weeks from tonight. I've got a conflict next Monday, so we'll be back on the 19th of October. Fragile, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, but also you didn't get a chance to introduce Fragile at the start, so tell us a little bit about your character and then about yourself, bud.
Oh, well, my character is Fragile, and Fragile is an Azamar. She is a Hexblade who is a follower of the Raven Queen, but it's a little bit more than even just the patron from being a Hexblade. I also view her as my mother. And so I spend a lot of my time looking for memories and emotions and stuff from the real world to dedicate to her and to um, send to her in her honor. And as far as like living, I'm always about where the emotion and the adventure is. So I don't. Fragile does not like to be bored. She doesn't usually stay very long in a place that's boring. As far as me, I am Buckethead Clunk on most of my social media. I'm still kind of trying to get a footprint in the social media slash, I guess, virtual world. I did a lot of gaming, but most of my gaming's either been phone games or whatnot. I've DM'd for 2000 so I've been DMing for a decade now, but it's never been online. I presently am running a Cormier campaign. I'm on a little hiatus. I get to take a vacation, and I'm playing this, and I'm playing Eberron for the next few weeks while I finish up the volleyball season, and I'll get back to running my Cormier. I believe we're up to level 13 or 14 in a group that started out in the Curse of Strahd, and we evolved into a homebrewed. Um, well, I can't say because Wiley's playing, but they're trying to save the world.
And we're doing a damn fine job of it, I might add.
I think so too.
All right. Very nice. Wonderful game, sir. Okay, Rue.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew, also known as Fellowship of the Tables. On Twitter, I am Fellowship OTT, where I mostly just retweet other people's stuff. Yeah, I am active in the O4A community. Particularly, I maintain the wiki for all of their campaigns that are set in the homebrew world of Sedmaria there, which is a really cool setting, and there's lots of stuff going on over there. So if you like D&D, that's definitely a good channel to check out as well.
We're going to raid into them here momentito, so everybody hang tight. Be nice to take a good-sized crowd over there. So very cool. Last but not least, Calavera, Paige.
Hi, I am Paige. You can find me on Twitter at KeylimeCutieBie, where I'm either, I might be retweeting stuff about cool tabletop things that I find, or shaming my friends for making just the worst jokes. It's been pretty bad lately. When I'm not playing games here, I've been playing a lot of Pathfinder and some different home games. Trying out some Pathfinder 2, which is kind of neat. I like the rebalancing they're doing. A little bit of Starfinder, putting it, in space adventures, and it's a lot of fun trying out all these different sessions. It's nice coming back here for a little bit of 5e though. It's a nice little comfort zone.
Amen, man. I hear that too. I've been getting into some Pathfinder as well, which that's our Sunday game. 1 p.m. on Sundays we play first edition Pathfinder set in Greyhawk, the original kind of D&D classic setting. And then Wednesday nights at 7 we play D&D 5e back here in Forgotten Realms with we're doing the Dragon of Icespire Peak, and then we're going to kind of go into the modules that follow that. So 3 shows a week here on the Why the Hobbit Twitch channel. Sure appreciate your support and love that you've hung out with us. Again, I'm Wiley Hobbit. Scott, I put the link to the Discord in chat. And also, while I'm thinking of it too, if you're struggling with any kind of mental illness, depression, sadness stuff, there's some information that I put in chat to get some help. And if you would like to support and donate to a great cause that donates to the American suicide prevention folks, Jasper's Game Day, that I put information for that in there as well. So that's kind of a near and dear to my heart. I've lost a couple of close people who took their own lives, so that's always something that I want to be helpful with. So thanks for everybody hanging out tonight, and we're going to raid into Open for Adventure. They are still rolling. The group that Andrew helps out and supports. So go in there and tell them where you're from. Well, they'll know where you're from. But you'll raid at them, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for this game. Thanks for hanging out.